What's the most ungrateful thing you see someone do? Today is my niece's birthday, and she just went to college, so I thought I'd get her a laptop for her birthday. Now, I'm a student myself, but I still want to give her something special. I sold my PSP and some other things so I could afford it. So there we were at the dinner table opening presents. She opened mine and had this grim look at her face. "This is it? I thought you'd buy me a brand new one." "Well, you know I can't afford it. It's the best I can do." "I want a brand new one, not this. This is so bad. Worst present ever." She then shoved the laptop and box across the table and it fell down the floor. I picked it up and walked out. My cousin tried to stop me. I just said I would never give her anything again. She even had the nerve to call back and ask for the laptop. Apparently, her parents scolded her for her behavior and she will now have to buy her own things. No handouts or gifts. My friend bought it as a favor. He helped me pick it out and knows how much I bought for it. The profit was roughly only $10. Next day, my niece called asking for the laptop because she will need it for college and her parents told her she will never be handed out stuff while she's in college. No apology yet, only demands. Her brother said I would cave and give it to her. No way. Wow, she even had the audacity to ask for the laptop back? That's like asking for a refund on a meal after you've already eaten parts of it and complained about the taste. And yikes, he even sold his PSP for the gift. Story 2. A few years ago, a friend and I were driving across the country in a big moving truck loaded with my mom's furniture. We had been on the road for about 18 hours and it was the second to last day of our trip. We stopped at the rest stop to stretch our legs and use the bathroom. There was a whole family sitting at the rest stop late at night, a mom, dad, and 2 young kids, and their car which was clearly broken or not working. Feeling like I should help, I asked the father what was wrong. He told me they had run out of gas and just needed to get to the next town, which was about 40 miles away. I couldn't leave the rest stop with that family stranded, so my friend and I got back in the truck and drove the 40-ish miles to the next town. We bought gas and a can and then drove all the way back in our huge moving truck. The whole trip back and forth took us about an hour and a half, and by the time we got back to the rest stop, we were both exhausted and about to fall asleep. The family was still there waiting, and I got out to give them the gas they needed so badly. I handed the can to the father, and he looked at me and said, "I would rather have the money." This caught me off guard because money wouldn't help them get anywhere. It was then that I realized he never wanted gas to begin with and probably had some in the car. He was just looking for cash, using his kids as a way to get it. I felt really bad for the mom because she was just looking at me the whole time with an expression that said, "I'm so sorry." I was speechless because the dad didn't even want the gas we had just spent over an hour driving to get for them. I just put the gas can on the ground, got back in the truck and left feeling like a complete dummy. Story 3. One time I delivered a pizza to a low-income apartment complex. The total was $18 and the customer handed me a $20 bill, rolled up and told me to keep the change. I turned around and started walking down the stairs back to the parking lot. As I was unrolling the $20 to put it with my other cash, I found a $100 bill wrapped up inside the 20. Right away, I turned around and went back to the customer's door. I knocked and said, "I don't think you meant to include this inside the 20, as I held out my hand with the $100 bill in it. She immediately started yelling at me, saying she didn't give me a $100 tip and that I was lucky she didn't call the police. She slammed the door and then she called my pizza shop to complain about me. I told my manager the whole story and the customer was put on a do not answer list. Story 4. When we were young, we were very poor. My sister's birthday was coming up and we had no money to buy gifts, but my mother had a small piece of white satin cloth and a box of tiny little pearl beads. She hand-sewed this beautiful little wedding gown for my sister's doll and stayed up night after night hand-sewing these tiny little beads onto the dress. When my sister received the gift on her birthday, she threw it across the room in disgust, saying, "I don't want that, it's for my old doll." I will never forget the heartbreak on my mother's face. Story 5. Back when I used to work for a local car dealership, I was selling the cheapest car on the lot to a dad and his daughter. It was a 2000 Daewoo for $3,000. She was really excited to have her own car, and it was what her dad could afford to buy her. At the same time, another salesperson was selling a brand new Eddie Bauer Explorer to a dad as a present for his daughter. While I was showing the Daewoo to its new owners, the daughter of the other dad came in to see her new Explorer. She started throwing a tantrum and yelled, "I didn't want an Explorer, I wanted an Expedition." Right there, I was really amazed by the dad who bought the Explorer. He walked back into the finance office and changed the deal. He worked with the guy buying the Daewoo and switched the names on the contracts. So the girl who was crying over her Explorer ended up with the ugly Daewoo, and the girl who was really grateful to have a car ended up with a fully loaded Explorer. I would have never believed it if I hadn't seen the salesperson involved in the deal. Wow, the grateful girl's thank you was the key that unlocked the Explorer's doors, huh? Meanwhile, the other girl's tantrum only started the Daewoo's engine. Story 6. It was during Valentine's Day, 2004. I never cared much about Valentine's Day, but my girlfriend at the time had never been in a serious relationship and wanted a special day. I was happy to make it happen for her. I went to the local flower nursery where I used to work and bought 24 red roses. I also took an unused delivery invoice. I still had the uniform, just a t-shirt and hat, but it was enough to make me look like a real delivery person. I spent my entire paycheck on gifts for her and food for dinner. I got everything: balloons, decorations, lots of red and pink cute stuff, and several expensive gifts, including an iPod and a new camera. I went to her house and decorated it all, turning her kitchen and living room into something that looked like a display at the mall. I even did the whole rose petals thing on the bed, thinking it would lead to a romantic evening. I checked her class schedule to find out where her class was. We had different majors, and then I burst in, pretending to be a delivery person. I gave her the roses and a teddy bear in front of her whole class, even making her sign the fake delivery invoice. It was her last class of the day, so I knew she'd be heading home. I rushed out to get there first, change, and start cooking dinner. I got there about 20 minutes before she did, and everything was going as planned. She seemed upset when she walked in the door. "Why didn't you wait for me after class?" she asked. I told her I wanted to start dinner before she got home and finish decorating the house. "Oh, I really wanted to go out to dinner tonight. Can we go out to dinner?" I explained that I was going to make something special at home and had already started cooking. She looked at the table of presents and the house full of decorations and just sighed, looking disappointed. "I really wanted this to be a special Valentine's Day, just this once. I was really hoping we could have a special day together, but I guess not." Story 7. When I was younger, I worked at a Blockbuster. I was the night shift manager, and one night I was working alone when a customer came up to me and handed me a woman's wallet. He said he found it on the ground. I looked inside the wallet to find an ID or membership card so I could look up her account or phone number. Sure enough, she had been in the store about 30 minutes earlier, so I called her. She sounded happy on the phone and said she would come right in. The store policy for something like this was to lock the item in the safe until the customer arrived. I did that and went back to work. About an hour later, the woman came in and asked for her wallet. I told her it would be 15 minutes because the safe was on a timer, and I asked her to wait. She didn't like that and asked if I could get it faster. I said no and kept helping other customers while she waited. Once the safe beeped, I got her wallet and gave it to her. I had to stop helping customers for a moment to do this because I wanted her out of the store quickly. She had spent the last 15 minutes getting angry and standing right next to my register. As soon as I handed her the wallet, she said, "My money better be in here." I explained that I didn't know because I hadn't opened the wallet all the way. Her membership card was in an outer flap. After giving her the wallet, I asked the next customer to come forward and tried to ignore her. But she started screaming, "My money is gone, you stole my money." This surprised me because she looked like a normal soccer mom. I asked the customer I was helping to wait a second and explained to her how I got the wallet and that I hadn't opened it beyond the first flap. She kept screaming, saying there was over $200 in it and that she was calling the police. I shrugged and told her to go ahead. At that point, I was fine with ignoring her. She walked to the back of the store and took out her cell phone. I kept helping customers as they looked back at the woman who was loudly calling the police. Most of the customers were saying things like, "What a bummer." I just shrugged and smiled. After I helped all the customers, a lady came back to the register and told me with a smug look that the police were on their way. I said, "Okay," and gave her an "I don't care" shrug while I checked in movies. About an hour later, a cop finally came into the store and she started waving at him and pointing at me. I saw the cop and rolled my eyes. He asked her to tell her story again, and while she was talking, he was mostly ignoring her and watching the football game on our TV. After she finished, he looked at me, rolled his eyes, and asked, "Did you take the money?" "Of course not," I said. "I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do, ma'am," the cop said and left the store. As he left, he held the door for her and told her to leave if she was done with her business. I smiled really big and told her to have a great day as she left. After she left, I didn't really buy pizza with the $200 I took. I'm just kidding. But I also wish that's how the story ended after she embarrassed me for almost 2 hours. Ha! If you're enjoying the video too and that last one, please don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 8. My mother's friend threw a birthday party for his daughter. This was a wealthy family, so the party was big with all her friends invited. The girl received a lot of nice gifts. She got dolls, a dollhouse, various toys, and even a horse, along with all the riding gear and the promise of lessons and everything she could ever need for the horse. This girl got what millions of little girls all over the country dream of, but you know what she did? She completely lost it because the dollhouse was the wrong one. Despite getting a horse, she threw a huge, screaming temper tantrum over the enormous dollhouse. Let me tell you about her father. Her dad came to the US from Africa as a refugee. This man competed in the Olympics and worked very hard to become a doctor. As you might expect, this guy did not like his daughter's lack of appreciation for her privileged life, so he put a stop to it. He canceled the party right then and there. The guests still got to eat cake and keep their party favors, and they also received an apology for his daughter's behavior. He packed up all the toys and returned them to the store. He took the horse back and grounded his spoiled child for a long time. Story 9. My mom bought my little sister many laptops, iPhones, and cameras with the rule that she had to take care of them. But every one was broken within a month or two. My mom bought her a $900 digital SLR camera that I had wanted for years because my sister said she was going to take a photography course at school. She got the camera, complained that she didn't get any other presents, used it for one day, and then let it sit around for 6 months. Now she uses it for pictures on her Tumblr, but she told my mom she never planned to take a photography course and she can only use it on auto mode. For Easter, I spent a couple $100 buying her lots of Hunger Games stuff and other things for an Easter basket because I wanted to do something nice. She was upset that my mom wouldn't be making Easter baskets anymore because she's older. After opening everything, she threw a tantrum because Easter was bad. She was angry that we wouldn't hide Easter eggs for her or hide plastic ones filled with money like her friends' parents did. I haven't given her anything since then. I bought my mom a MacBook Air to thank her for years of taking care of me, and my sister threw a huge tantrum. She tried to hurt my mom and steal her car because it wasn't fair that my mom got something nice for the first time ever. My sister has since accidentally broken her laptop hoping I would buy her one too. Yeah, right, that's never gonna happen. I gotta be honest here, guys. His mom kinda made a mistake too to be buying all those nice things for her. No offense, but after the first time she ruined an expensive piece of technology, she should have figured out that her daughter just didn't appreciate such nice things. His mom spoiled the sister, of course, so she's gonna act like a spoiled brat. What do you expect? Story 10. A few months ago, when I used to work at a pet store, we had a scarlet macaw for sale. I was weighing her at the front of the store because we need to track the growth of our birds. A little girl and her grandfather came into the store while I was doing this. The girl suddenly ran towards the bird. This was not good because it had taken me a long time to get the bird out of her cage for the weighing. She's a very shy bird and doesn't trust people easily. The girl's running scared the bird and she jumped off my arm. Luckily, she landed on the counter where the scale was. I asked the girl as nicely as I could to please step back because the bird was very afraid. I explained that the bird was shy with new people and that the girl could watch but needed to keep her distance. The girl was okay with that for a short time. After I weighed the bird and got her back on my arm, I told the girl I had to return the bird to her cage and give her treats for being good during the weighing. This didn't go too well. The girl followed me to the cage and kept asking if she could pet the bird. I told her no because the bird didn't like strangers and might try to bite, which could hurt her. But she started yelling, "I want to pet the bird, let me pet it, let me pet the bird." She threw a tantrum and I ignored her because the macaw was now biting me and I just wanted to get her back in the cage and away from the girl. Her grandfather just stood there watching and didn't say anything. I got the bird back in the cage and the girl was on the other side. I asked her to step back because the bird could easily bite her still. She finally stepped back and I thought maybe she would look at the hamsters or something else. But no, she went to her grandfather and screamed, "Buy me that bird, I want that bird, buy it for me." He looked at me and asked how much the bird was. I was shocked. I told him the bird was $2,000 plus the cost of the cage, food, and other supplies. I also explained that these birds can live a long time, often up to 50 years or more. This is not something you buy just because a girl is demanding it. I had to talk him out of buying the bird for about 10 minutes. It was clear where the girl got her attitude. He was ready to buy her a $2,000 bird without thinking twice. I lost some faith in humanity that day. Luckily, they left the store after that and the girl was not quiet about it at all. She was pissed the whole way out. I haven't seen them since and I'm thankful for that. Story 11. Times were really hard for the last few years when I was living at home. My dad had worked 2 jobs, my mom worked, I worked, and my brother worked too. We all helped to pay the mortgage on our house and the bills. We all worked hard to save money and reduce costs wherever we could, but we still managed to live a pretty nice lifestyle. One day, my father talked about not being able to pay the mortgage anymore. I tried even harder to save money at that point and gave almost my entire paycheck each week to help out. I told him we needed to get rid of things we didn't need. My dad likes to give us kids everything we want, so it wasn't easy for him to think about canceling a $300 cable internet bill. He didn't want to make things harder for us kids. But I said it had to be done. We would have to cancel cable and switch to a very slow internet for $20 a month. My sister walked into the room. She never had a job, just sat around the house all day. She had done fewer chores in her whole life than my brother did in a single day. She started complaining and screaming about not canceling cable, saying it was the only thing she had to do all day. I calmly explained to her that we couldn't afford it and that we didn't have a choice. She insisted, but her opinion didn't change anything. I took the cable boxes and returned them that day, and I switched our internet to the cheapest plan they offered. 10 years later, my sister is still the same. She goes back and forth between living on welfare and living with my parents, complaining all the time. She has never shown any appreciation as far as I've seen. Story 12. I once had a friend who knew she had to move out of her place in a few months, but there was no exact date. She called me around 6 at night, saying she had to be out of her place by 1 p.m. the next day or the police would come to make her leave. I should mention she has 3 kids. The moving itself wouldn't have been a big deal, but her problem was she hadn't found a new place to live. It wasn't because there were no places available, she just hadn't looked for one. So within 12 hours, I asked another friend who she had never met if she could stay with them until she found an apartment. I then helped her move. A month later, she had completely taken advantage of my generous friends, causing them financial troubles and upsetting them with her attitude and lies. I felt embarrassed and apologized to them. Finally, she found her own place, but because she's not very good at managing things, she had no way to move her stuff. My friends were tired of helping her, but I felt responsible, so we all helped her move again. The situation got worse when I noticed she didn't have a crib mattress for one of her daughters. I offered to let her use mine since my son had just moved to a bigger bed. But she started yelling at me, saying it was hers and how she had no friends who ever helped her. I was shocked for a moment and then told her to forget it and left her apartment. Well, if any of these stories got to you, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this, and thanks for hanging out with me on this one.